Kyle Petty, the former NASCAR driver turned analyst, has sent shockwaves through the racing world with a severe criticism of today's drivers. Petty has thrown a verbal barrage against the current crop of competitors, calling into question their adaptability, toughness, and overall preparedness for the challenges of modern stock car racing. What exactly has Kyle Petty said that's causing such a stir? He's accused NASCAR drivers of being unable to predict racing conditions and adapt to track changes. He believes that the current crop of drivers are ill-prepared and not willing to adjust their driving styles to suit the ever-changing landscape of the sport. It's a fierce critique, and one that has the potential to ruffle a lot of feathers in the NASCAR community. To understand the context of Kyle Petty's comments, we need to look at a recent race at Iowa Speedway. This track had undergone some significant changes leading up to the race, with the bottom and middle lanes being repaved while the top lane was left untouched. NASCAR officials had organized tire tests and given drivers ample practice time to familiarize themselves with the new surface. However, according to Kyle Petty, the drivers were still not prepared for the challenges that lay ahead. In a blistering quote, he stated, "You cannot listen to those guys. They're their own worst enemies and they don't even know it." After the tire test at Iowa, we heard how bad it was going to be, how bad the racing was going to be, how bad everything was. And these guys go and test and say still don't know what's going to happen. You don't know what's going to happen? It's a harsh assessment, but one that Petty believes is justified based on the drivers' actions and attitudes. Petty's frustration stems from the fact that drivers were complaining about the potential for poor racing after the tire tests. They seemed to throw their hands up in defeat, claiming that they still didn't know what to expect, even after practicing on the new surface. In Petty's eyes, this is an unacceptable attitude for professional drivers to have. He believes that adaptability is a key skill for any NASCAR driver. The track conditions are always changing, whether it's due to weather, tire wear, or surface alterations. It's the driver's job to adjust on the fly and find a way to make their car work in any given situation. By complaining and making excuses, Petty feels that the drivers are shirking their responsibilities and not living up to the high standards set by previous generations of NASCAR stars. Petty is a firm believer that tracks need to be repaved on a regular basis to maintain a high quality of racing. He suggests that every track should undergo a full repave every 25 years to ensure that the surface remains safe and conducive to competitive racing. He is urging NASCAR officials to be proactive and aggressive when it comes to track maintenance. Kyle Petty said, "You have to repave these tracks at some point in time. You can't continue. They paved Daytona in '58, they paved it again in '79, and they paved it a few years ago. Every 20 or 25 years, we're gonna have to come in and pave these places. You beg for your street to be paved. These racetracks have to be paved to continue to move forward and to put on the show." He sees it as a necessary investment in the future of the sport, one that will pay dividends in terms of exciting races and engaged fans. After all, if the tracks are in poor condition, it doesn't matter how skilled the drivers are, the racing will suffer as a result. The situation at Iowa Speedway is a perfect example of the challenges that NASCAR faces when it comes to track maintenance. The lower grooves of the track had been damaged beyond repair, necessitating a partial repave. However, due to time constraints and other logistical issues, officials were unable to complete a full repave of the entire track surface. In Petty's view, this is a suboptimal solution. He believes that if a track needs to be repaved, it should be done in its entirety. Leaving portions of the old surface intact creates an uneven playing field and can lead to unpredictable racing conditions. It's a bit like putting a band-aid on a broken leg. It might hold things together in the short term, but it's not a long-term fix. Despite his reservations about the partial repave at Iowa Speedway, Petty understands that it was a necessary step given the circumstances. He acknowledges that NASCAR officials are working within tight timeframes and budgetary constraints, and that sometimes compromises have to be made. However, he hopes that in the future, NASCAR will prioritize full repaves and allocate the resources needed to maintain the tracks to the highest possible standards. While Kyle Petty may be critical of some aspects of NASCAR's decision-making, he's not afraid to give credit where it's due. A prime example of this came during a recent race at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, where NASCAR made the bold decision to allow the use of wet weather tires in damp conditions. Petty was effusive in his praise for this decision, calling it a landmark moment for the sport. By allowing the race to continue in less than ideal conditions, NASCAR showed a willingness to adapt and innovate in the face of adversity. It was a move that required quick thinking and a bit of risk-taking, but in Petty's eyes, it paid off in a big way. The wet weather tires performed remarkably well, given the challenging conditions. The track surface became slick and treacherous, forcing drivers to rely on their skills and instincts to navigate the course safely. Petty was impressed by the level of car control and adaptability shown by the competitors, noting that what we saw was great driving from all the competitors yesterday. In many ways, the use of wet weather tires at New Hampshire showed the qualities that Petty believes are essential for success in NASCAR. It required drivers to think on their feet, adjust their strategies on the fly, and push themselves to the limit in pursuit of victory. Petty sees the New Hampshire race as a potential turning point for NASCAR, one that could open the door for more experimentation and innovation in the future. If the sport is willing to accept new technologies and think outside the box, he believes that the possibilities are endless. From new tire compounds to aerodynamic tweaks to changes in race formats, there are countless ways that NASCAR could evolve and improve in the years to come. While Petty's comments may be controversial, they raise important questions about what it takes to succeed at the highest levels of stock car racing. At its core, Petty's message is simple. Drivers need to be adaptable, proactive, and willing to push themselves to the limit. They can't afford to rest on their laurels or make excuses when things don't go their way. Instead, they need to accept the challenges that come with each race and find ways to overcome them. But the responsibility for creating a thrilling and competitive racing environment doesn't fall solely on the drivers. NASCAR officials also have a crucial role to play in maintaining the tracks, experimenting with new technologies, and being open to change. It's a balancing act that requires cooperation and communication from all sides. Ultimately, the goal is to create a sport that is exciting, unpredictable, and rewarding for drivers and fans alike. By working together and pushing the boundaries of what's possible, NASCAR has the potential to reach new heights and cement its place as one of the world's premier racing series. As fans, we have a role to play in this process as well. We need to make our voices heard and let NASCAR know what we want to see from the sport moving forward. Do we want more innovation and experimentation, more emphasis on driver skill and adaptability, a greater focus on sustainability and environmental responsibility? These are all important questions that we need to grapple with as a community. So what do you think about Kyle Petty's comments and the state of NASCAR as a whole? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe to NASCAR Insider for more in-depth analysis and commentary on the world of stock car racing. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.